Hi. So like, I'm just gonna wait. What am I talking? The industrial revolution and kids in industrial revolution. So the topics we're gonna cover in this Agents of Torture are kids.
Working conditions.
What the project's about. I don't know. So, after going through a number of boring sites and a 51-minute video featuring Howie Mandel 10 years from now, I would like to relay the information about the impact the Industrial Revolution had on working conditions on children. I should get paid for this. So what was the Industrial Revolution? To put it into simple terms, it was when people discovered new energy sources, realized the machines were a thing, and decided to use them to increase productivity, which ultimately resulted in the garbage computer I'm using right now to record my voice. This new era of American productivity started in the year of the horse. If you do not know the years of every Chinese zodiac animal and where they align on, then you are you're doing it wrong. 1750 was supposedly the start of the IR. Interestingly, one of the main reasons for this outburst can be traced back to Britain due to the British textile industry. Basically, a guy named John Kay made an invention which increased the speed of weaving, which needed more yarn, and because of this, new inventions were created, like the spinning jenny. This chain of events continued, which led to steam-powered stuff. The need for steam engines led to inventions that later increased the rate of coal production. This boom in technology was a major advance, so mean old Britain didn't want to share their toys. In fact, the British legislation actually enacted a law in 1765 that prohibited the export of their technology to other countries. Alright, so did the law work? No, why would it? The tries of legislation to keep their toys to themselves ultimately failed. In 1824 to 25, their technology slipped into the hands of America. By the mid-19th century, the northwestern part of America was well established in this industrialization, and by the 20th century, America became the world's leading industrialized nation. Start of child labor began in the late 1700s and early 1800s. Because of this advance, the types of jobs that were available were highly influenced by the IR. People who wanted to survive had to adjust and work these new jobs. European immigrants came to America and idealized that there's nothing wrong with sending children to work. Rural families moved to cities, which included farming families. Since the families were accustomed to making children help them on the farm, they sent their kids to work, and after a time, no one thought of child labor to be wrong. It was normal. Kids as young as 6 were subjected to pretty bad labor. During the IR, kids were actually working for 19 hours straight with only an hour break. Not to mention they were barely getting paid. Sometimes not even. It gets worse. The working conditions that the kids had to deal with included large, heavy equipment. Common sense dictates that 6-year-olds shouldn't even be next to machinery. Seems like a messed up playground. Finally, someone with common sense decided to do something about this. In 1833, the Factory Act was passed. Yes, let's see what this act dictates. No child workers under 9 years of age. Children of 9 to 13 years to work no more than 9 hours a day. Children of 13 to 18 years no work on more than 12 hours a day. Things didn't necessarily get better. Most of the children never even got paid, and the majority working in these industries were orphans. This was pretty shady since factory owners justified the lack of payment to the fact that they were giving their orphans food, shelter, and clothing, which was not up to par anyway. The children's treatment during the working session was unreal. Children's safety was always ignored. Kids too young to work the machines were sent to textile workers to be assistants. They were punished for no reason. These punishment included beatings, verbal abuse, and waiting. Not waiting, but waiting. Waiting was a weird punishment. Looks like some torture. An overseer would tie a heavy weight on the kid's neck and make them walk around aisles in the factory. They did this to make the other kids realize what would happen if they made a mistake. Moving on from child labor to the general working conditions of the IR. If you thought working as a teacher was bad, I'd rather teach kids than stay cramped up in one spot and work for 16 hours. Actually, maybe not. It wasn't just hard for the kids. Adults were faced with the exact same working conditions. This involved cleaning machines while eating, breaks would equal deduction of pay, and completing repetitive and tiring actions. You would think by now that someone would have done something about this issue, but no one really could. The reason for this was librarianism. Liberalism was characterized by laissez-faire capitalism, which literally translates to leave us alone. And that was the ideology where the government couldn't intervene in economic affairs. Basically, because of liberalism, the government couldn't stop the factories which were putting their workers to such abuse. Due to the lack of government interference, workers were often exploited, such as cutting salaries for no reason and increasing hours whenever the overseers feel like it. Another major problems workers faced was when they got injured. When one works in such factories, you expect to lose a finger or six, and some people did. In modern day working conditions, government made it so that you would be compensated if you were injured, but that wasn't a thing back then. In conclusion, the IR impacted America greatly. It was negative for many people, but we can look back at the IR and make sure that we do not make the same mistake again. I'm trying to make this video 8 minutes. If I edit any longer, I have to sell my soul to the